back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. It is good to know that this is the song Matt has been giving us so much build-up for. Thank you, Matt.
That's a great song. It's Ace of Base.
Yeah.
I love that song when I was like 9.
We do have Ferrell Elliott, I believe, is on the line with us. How you doing this morning, Ferrell?
Hey, what's going on, Tyler?
Not much. How's your weekend going?
I rolled in from Nashville last night about 3 a.m. Tyler got me a little sleep where I could be with you, and I hear a lady's voice in the studio.
We have Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle, actually.
Danielle, how are you, dear?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am prepared to turn you into the best fantasy football player you could ever
Good,
be.
because this is going to be my first year playing, so I'm going to need all the tips I can get.
A true rookie. You know, if you haven't played fantasy football anywhere, you can start with us because there's no garbage in your head. You're going to be great, Danielle.
I am. I'm going to win.
Just so you know, Ferrell, the guy that led you in, that's the other host, Kelly Patrick.
Yeah, I'm actually Kelly. You can call me whatever you want, though. It's all good.
Hi,
Bill.
Kelly.
Hi, how are you doing? Actually, Danielle was talking about she is going to play for the first time this year, so that's pretty neat. I mean, we'll see, be able to follow along and see how the experience goes for her.
Well, we're lining up some sponsors and some opportunities, and we're going to put the entire Morning Sports Buzz staff into, or I believe we're the Weekend Sports Buzz, but we're going to put all of you in the league and get all of you placed because once you get in here, you're going to love it.
Wow.
That would be great.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows, it's KFFSC.com. Ferrell Elliott runs the greatest fantasy football fantasy football ring out there. It's KentuckyFantasyFootballStateChampionship.com. The draft is August 26th at the Horseshoe Casino in Indiana. It's going to be a great event. It's been going on for 10 years, I believe. I joined you on your all's show last Wednesday for a segment. I got to talk a little bit. I heard you talking with your boy Rico, if I'm sure, and he seems to be a very good competitor out there. And there seems to be a lot of good guys in this league, in these leagues.
Rico's a tough player, and yes, there are. That's why we have the opportunity to move to 228 teams this year. We have so many players. They come into the league and play multiple teams, and if you saw an email that was circulating around our latest newsletter, we have, it's noted by our big payback league being at capacity. You'll see the hometown listed of some of the guys that are coming in. Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, all throughout the region, as well as great local players to play against. Guys, our motto is come and play against the best. Get out of your basement. You know, you have poker players, another great game of skill, just like fantasy football is, and you'll turn on the TV and you watch those poker players, and you say, wow, I would love the chance to play against those guys. Well, that's what we're giving you here at the Horseshoe the weekend of the 24th through 26th. You're going to have an opportunity not to play poker, but to play fantasy football against the best fantasy football players in the nation and our area, which is one and the same. We have some of the greatest fantasy football players in the country residing right here in the Louisville, southern Indiana area.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Ferrell's already got me out of my basement league, coming over to the KFFSC league. I'm excited about this. Getting into a little bit of fantasy, Ferrell, some news that could affect maybe some people's decisions, some thoughts down the road. Who knows? A couple guys, maybe Kenny Britt, Marshawn Lynch, both arrested. What are your thoughts of the implications of these two?
A lot of activities going on off the field here as we try to get to camp on July 25th. Kenny Britt, he's facing a suspension, and that's going to move wide receivers in the Tennessee system up. Capable receivers such as Nate Washington. I'm very interested to see what the rookie receiver out of Baylor, Kendall Wright, is going to be able to do. A little slower time on his pro day, but I think when he gets to the field, he'll translate quicker skills to the field. I was in Nashville last night. It was a music business activity, but actually I talked to a lot of people about football. Kenny Britt, 9 arrests since entering the league, and it's to the point where some people are ready to move on, and I wonder if that feeling permeates the organization. We'll see. But the whole team, Chris Johnson looking for a bounce-back year. You take Jared Cook, the tight end, who has significant physical skills, and we'll just see that I think the Titans remain a sleeping giant of their division. With or without Kenny Britt, they have capable players. They'll go forward into this season. He'll be a nice addition, but he is falling like a rock thrown off a cliff.
Oh yeah. Let me ask you before you go to Marshawn, while you're on the Titans, you mentioned Chris Johnson. What do you think of? What are your thoughts of him this season? Obviously, last year's contract, it was a big contract, and he didn't perform basically at all. Is this going to scare some people away, fantasy goers, this season, or is it a guy to look at? Obviously, it's a guy to look at. He's one of the fastest, one of the best running backs out there. But you know what I'm going to.
He'll go in the first round, and that's something I want to talk with you if we have time this morning. I want to talk to you about where you've decided to draft in our league. But to answer your question, Chris Johnson, I'm trying to recover. My wounds are healing slowly. I had in a high-stakes draft last year the third pick, and I passed on better running backs, better producers to take Chris Johnson last year, and I got burned, bitten, snake bit, disappointed. I could go on forever. So I'm warming up to him this year. He's just a terrific ball player. He'll go anywhere between 4 and 8 in our draft, and there'll be a big swing because different fantasy players have different opinions about Chris Johnson. But yes, Chris Johnson, a bounce-back season, something more in the neighborhood of those 5 yards per rush average and a lot of great yards after the catch for Chris Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you think Marshawn Lynch, is that going to be a big factor in the fantasy game?
My early indications from all the media, and when I looked up the history on it, I had to agree with all their reports. It does not look like there's a suspension going to be attached to this. So with, he'll be on the field, everything will be forgotten. Marshawn Lynch will need to get me excited, needs to get a little more yardage per carry. He's more in the neighborhoods of about 4.1, 4.2 yards a carry. He breaks some big runs, but he's also a grinder. He's a middle of the second rounder, and it's interesting that you bring it up and pair that with Chris Johnson. It's one of the things fantasy players need to look at. Chris Johnson, if you draft him in the middle of the first round, Marshawn Lynch is likely going to be available when you come back around, and that's a pretty good way to start with 2 running backs, Tyler.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I usually kind of look at that. I had Matt Forte last year, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but I'm excited for it. What was your question for me, Ferrell? Explain yourself. Are you asking what kind of route I'm going to take my first round? What kind of positioning?
Well, in our league, we're not going to tell you where you have to draft. That's one of the greatest things about our league is you start with $1,000 fantasy dollars. That's going to get you through free agency. That's how you're going to acquire new players throughout the 11-week regular season. But when we start, we're going to gather all of you in a circle in your 12-team division, and we're going to auction, using your $1,000 fantasy dollars, your draft position. So the first decision you need to make is who you love in the first round and where you want to go, and you need to take that slot and plot it all the way through the first 6, 8, 10 rounds, further as you get closer to the draft to determine the players you want. So I guess my question is back at you, who you want to start with? Who's your number 1 first-round guy that you like?
From what you informed me last week, I brought up a quarterback. I usually go Tom Brady as the first, but now I'm looking at, a first-round running back. I'm a big Ray Rice guy. Obviously, I like Arian Foster, too. In my opinion, he's going to be kind of hard to get for a good dollar. I kind of like a Ray Rice or a Maurice Jones-Drew.
Okay, now you're in several places there. So with Ray Rice and Arian Foster, you could take the second choice. Then you could take the number 2 pick, and if you think they're interchangeable, you'll take the one that comes to you. Exactly. Maurice Jones-Drew is going towards the end of the first round, which would allow you a different strategy. So line up the players that you could associate towards the end of the first round and the players you could associate towards the beginning of the first round, and take that all the way through the draft grid as far as you can to see which team you like better on paper. That's a way to prepare.
Oh, wow, I'm glad we're getting all this very, very informative information. Otherwise, I'm going to go into the casino just out of place and not knowing what the hell I'm going to be doing. I think Kelly's got a quick little question here.
Ferrell, you had on me, Kelly.
Sure. You had me sold when you said the auction deal. I'll say I've done a few different auction football drafts in the past, and I hope to do auctions every time I do a fantasy league for the rest of my life. There's no question that's the best way to go about doing it.
Well, the auction for every player, we do have an option for that, and I'd like to put one representative from the station in that. And maybe that's you, Kelly. That's a Friday night division. We have about 3 spots remaining, and you will, in fact, auction every player in that league. In our main event, what you're going to auction is just your draft position.
Oh.
Then you're going to start drafting in the format of the Serpentine draft. So that's what we're auctioning here in the main event is just your first-round draft position and the slot that take you through the rest of the draft. But I've got an option for you, and I'm glad to hear that you like that because some of the best players that come here will be playing in that auction, and you'll be one of them then.
Good deal.
I wouldn't say he'll be one of them. Yeah, it's Kelly. Come on, Ferrell.
He'll just be in the room.
Exactly. Kelly. Ferrell, let me ask you. I know you kind of mentioned to me throughout the Pittsburgh Steelers in a new look. You kind of want to explain to the listeners what that would be about?
I can't get anyone to jump on the bandwagon with me other than one of the beat writers, and I left his note. I left his name at the office, and I hate not being able to attribute this to him. But naturally, they're going to have a new running back. Isaac Redman is going to move in where Rashad Mendenhall started last year. But with the new Todd Haley offense, I'm expecting to see the offense function much differently. Quicker drops from Ben Roethlisberger, quicker releases, shorter passes with athletic receivers trying to gain yards with their feet. And last year it was more of a downfield passing attack with Mike Wallace in the last 2 years averaging somewhere between 16 and 20 yards per reception, and a lot of that done through the air. I think we're going to see Roethlisberger benefit from shorter completions to receivers. You know, he's great as a protector of the ball anyway, and he can scramble and move out of that pocket. It's going to be very exciting to just see a wrinkle, a different look from that team that's going to take even more advantage of his athleticism. And the receiver there to watch, to me, is a player that's not even being drafted in some of the early drafts. If at all, he's going very late, and that's Emmanuel Sanders. Now, I'm out there on an island with this. You mentioned Rico Hughes. I brought this up to Rico, and, he paused on the show last week and said, I don't think there'll be any difference. So I'm definitely in the minority here, and we'll see during the preseason if that trend develops like I think it might.
So are you projecting somewhat of an offensive maybe explosion? Obviously, it's been years since the Steelers have really been that ground and pound type of attack that they are historically known for. But are you kind of predicting an offensive big year for the Steelers overall?
Right, and I'm predicting that offense to stay on the field longer, and that's even going to make their defense much better, and it's somewhat of an aging defense that could probably utilize that.
Sure.
Again, we got Ferrell Elliott from KFFSC.com. That's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship.com. Well, Ferrell, when's the registration in for all of the events?
Well, yes, go to the website, click on the events, look at what we're doing, then go to registration. You can download the form and mail it in with your $300 entry fee. For your $300 entry fee, we have $1,600 in divisional cash prizes. If we get to 228 teams, and it looks like we're on our way, we'll have a grand prize of $10,000, moving up from $5,000 last year. In addition, we reward our top 5 overall finishers with a bid to go to Las Vegas in the next season to draft in the FFPC, a league with a $250,000 grand prize. So we have a lot of cash and prizes on the line, but most of all, and you guys see a picture of it on the website, we've got a beautiful trophy that no one can ever take away from you, and the claim that you can stake your claim to the title of the state champion of fantasy football.
Yeah,
and I would say that we're maybe the only state that can legitimately claim that you're the state champion. So we've declared ourselves so you might as well come and grab your chunk of the trophy.
For sure. I actually was on the site throughout the weekend. I was just scouring it, and I saw that trophy. It's going to look very pretty on my mantle with the big check from Happy Gilmore that says $10,000 on it. I cannot wait.
Well, the money will melt, but you'll always have that trophy, brother.
Exactly. Farrell, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We're going to get out of here. We got a Reds radio host barking to get on here. I can't wait for this to come up. If you ever need me to talk. If you want me to get on next week, you let me know, and I can't wait to talk to you next Sunday.
Guys, I'll see you next Sunday. The Reds got plenty to bark about. 8 of the last 10, 14 games over 500, and they're doing it all without their $25 million man.
Are you a Reds fan, Ferrell?
Oh, I am passionate about football in every bit of the way, but I'm very romantic about baseball, and the Reds have a chance to write probably the most interesting story.
Well, let me ask you this then quickly. Barry Larkin, he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame today. Yeah, are you a Barry Larkin fan? I mean, you're a romantic baseballer.
Oh, I've been a baseball fan forever, and yes, Barry Larkin, just Mr. Consistency at that position, and he's well-respected ball player, obviously going in the Hall of Fame. If he had played for the New York Yankees, he would be a household name and thought of one of the first names off the tongue as one of the greatest ever.
That's a hell of a point. Couldn't have made a better point myself. Well, Ferrell, we appreciate it, and we'll be talking to you Sunday, my man.
See you next Sunday, guys. Nice to talk with you.
As always.
Thanks a lot, Ferrell. I got to agree with